Hello and welcome back to Pandemic Playground with Dave. So today we have another kind of pointless experiment for you guys, and that is that weird ore collecting conveyor belt system that I've done in 2 videos. So we did this conveyor belt system in 2 different videos, one being the Mars Co-op survival time-lapse video, and one being this new time-lapse video that I did for building an underground base or operation below ground base. And I made it more of a flat type of conveyor belt system, which kind of doesn't work too well because sometimes you have like rotisserie of stone for some reason, which is the weirdest thing. But I wanted to find and try an experiment to see what would be the most efficient way of creating this conveyor belt system, maybe with piston heights and different things like that. So I created this whole piston build here and a drilling rig to kind of see if it works out right, or is it going to continue to be just as bad as what we had in the other flat conveyor belt system. Alright, so let's talk about the build really quick first. Alright, so going to the conveyor belt system, we're going to skip that really quick because we're going to go to how we're drilling for the stone. So we're basically using the same type of system I always use, up pistons and using down pistons. Sometimes I use horizontal pistons going left and right basically, but in this case I just went up and then down just to make it as simple as possible. Merge blocked it to get some more stability as always, and we connect it with the hinge swaying back and forth with 2 timer blocks as we've done in previous episodes, but we try to make it a little longer so that we can collect a lot more stone and make a bigger pit, but it does take forever to go down. So if you're curious about the settings, it's pretty much the same as always. So if I were to go into the settings, let me show you really quick. The down pistons are all going at a velocity of 0.001. That's how slow it's going down, basically, because of the way it's swaying. The hinge blocks for the drills, so that's the drill hinges that I named here, pretty much the same as always that I always use. Velocity is 4 to, sway back and forth. As you see there, it just changed because of the timer blocks, so it's at 4 RPMs, and the timer blocks are set at 8-second delay, and it tells one block to start and start another 8 seconds for it to reverse and blah blah blah. So even with a longer type of swaying, the setting is about the same. It just slows down this pistons going down, and at 0.001 it is quite slow. It can be quite some time before it finished digging down. But the main part of this experiment is this conveyor system here. And I wanted to do the conveyor system a little less flat and make it more angled. And to do that, of course, you would do that with the pistons. And then have them all angled at a different height or up at a different height. So I pretty much started at 0 height, 1 height, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. That's how I ramped it up a little bit. And it does work out kind of well. But just like the flat one, it does keep some of these at a rotisserie like kind of situation where they just stay there and rotate because most of these ores are round, but also because there's smaller ores coming out because of the way it's digging really slow. With larger ores, it works fine, so you'll see that in the time lapse. I did just throw in some random stone in there just to see how it works, and it does work out pretty well. So if I were to just, for an example, if I'm gonna throw in some stone in there, and we could just throw in a big number of stone here, we just dump that in there and the drill system will pick it up. You're gonna see that it's gonna be these darker gray stone colors, and with the larger ones they fall perfectly fine, but the smaller ones are having some issues. Is there a way to fix that? Maybe. I think so. If we were to control the pistons and make it bounce up and down, we could possibly move some of these things around. But again, the larger ores that's coming down works perfectly fine if it's angled this way. If it's flat, it works out too, but sometimes, you know, it get that rotisserie also thing going on too, even with the large one. So if we go on here in our control seat and we're looking at our pistons, right now it's actually just called pistons. Actually, no, it's going to be the W pistons. Let's just do that. It's these guys. So this is what's in front of us, as you see behind this control panel. So one is over on this side and it goes all the way to 10. So if we had to, we can just bounce these around, as you see there, and move them up and down. We could probably use a timing block to do this if you wanted to. We just reverse them so it drops down, bring it back up, bounce them around, basically up and down. You know, the situation. You see some things are falling, the smaller ones are falling through. So we can easily just bounce it around and see what happens there. So we're just gonna go reverse, 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 reverse on each and every one of them. We can put a timing block, make it bounce up and down at certain rates, but not too high. And then that everything would kind of move off from it. So again, larger ones work fine. Smaller, medium-sized ores are not working really well with this thing, so it's rotisserieing again. And if you do bounce it around, I guess most of it does kind of drop. So this kind of works, kind of doesn't at the same time, I want to say. So that was kind of the experiment to kind of see if that works. Maybe with a larger angle, or maybe a smaller distance, you know, might make a difference. I don't know. So if we were to try to do something like that, so if we go to W pistons again and change our maximum, let's just say maximum distance for the first one we'll leave. So the second one we'll say maximum distance, let's just say 0.5, right? And then this one is gonna be, the third one's gonna be 1, and I'm gonna move on from there. Alright, so I set them by 0.5 increments, so I'm just gonna lower them a little bit to default for now, and now bring them back up on reverse, so then they will hit their maximum distance basically. So right now it's flat, so if you want to take a look at it, this is the flat version of it that we've seen before. And again, with the large ones, it does rotisserie, which is not something we really care about. And the smaller ones are still rotisserieing too. So let's bring that back onto their specific heights and see if that works. So at a 0.5 increase, so each one's going to be 0.5 difference. So you see here, a little bit of an accordion style. Let's see if that works. So it looks like it still works with the larger ores. The medium-sized ores, it's still kind of rotisserieing here for some reason. Maybe there is a better way to do this. Maybe there is a specific dimension, height to really get this. I mean, it's kind of moving slowly, to be honest. Like, some pieces are coming through slowly, but they also disappear at the same time, so that's not helpful. So what else can we do? I mean, if we make it a little bit higher for each one, maybe that'll work. So let's go for, let's see here. We did 0.5 increments. We did 1 increments. What if we did 2 increments? Right? So on 2, we're going to say max distance is going to be 2 instead. Right? And then 3 will be potentially 4. Actually, the math doesn't work out because it then, you know, it gets a little too much. But look at that. It's actually bouncing a little bit, so that's interesting. So if we get the last 3 to 10, that might actually work. Alright, so it looks like we're losing a lot on the floor too, which is fine. But we're increasing them, so we have 10, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, or something like that. I can't even keep track of it. I think I messed up here and there. But doing it this way, it kind of bounces around and actually might actually work out. So, I mean, it's not rotisserie anymore, but it is causing this weird bounce back towards the ramp, which is also a new kind of issue. And it's also missing because it's bouncing. I'm not sure why it's bouncing. It might be some kind of clang. And in the time lapse, you can see a lot of clang happening too. So, yeah, that was kind of the experiment to kind of figure out if the flat one works better or a straight ramp works better. Maybe even a not too straight of a ramp works okay, and kind of determine what works best for this kind of weird conveyor system that I've been playing around with. So, I mean, answer is it's all kind of the same, to be honest. You probably gotta stagger them at either a maximum distance of 2 or maybe like close to 1.5 to really get it going. So, you know what, for the final thing, let's try 1.5 just to make sure it works well. And I think I'm not getting the distance because I did block them off a little bit here. Yeah, I think that's the issue. So this is like a non-staggered way, and it is kind of working out. So 1.5, it probably wouldn't make a difference, to be honest, because it might not even reach the specific heights based on what's holding it down, basically. Alright, so everything's flat. I'm going to reverse it. Everything is starting at 1.5 increments, except for the very first one. We'll leave that at 0. And we're going to slowly bring it up. And it looks like we're not going to get exactly the heights we want, because again, we did block it off a little bit to ensure that, you know, it doesn't fall out. So 1.5 may kind of work, may not work. I'm not sure. But I think I already caused some weird clanging because everything's just bouncing around like crazy here. And yeah, so everything's just bouncing around, which is kind of working out, except for the smaller ones because they are flying a little bit over. And this thing is actually acting like a rebound thing. Well, actually, if we angle this down a little bit more, we probably can catch some of it. But actually, no. It's flying pretty high, which is kind of weird. But it may be because... yeah, I'm actually not even sure why it's bouncing like this now. So that's kind of awkward. But that's an interesting thing. But yeah, so a straight, you know, ramp that we did before doesn't technically work out too well. What if we did take out some of these blocks just to make sure that they can't get up to their heights? I don't know if that's gonna work. Alright, so now it's at I think 1.5 rotation. And the 3 up here is just going straight 10 to see if it works out well. So okay, so it does work out a little better when it's a little higher. So 1.5 looks to be a better one where it's actually taking the smaller ores and dropping them. So it has to be not necessarily 1 increments, but 1.5 I would think would be the better increments. That's what it seems to be. I can't really lower it anymore, especially up here. I can lower the top 3 by a little bit. What if we did it in between? 9.7. Actually, no. This one's 10. This one could be 9.5. What is 7? 7 is at 9 already. So let's put 8. 8 is going to be 9.2, let's just say. Right? And of course, we're going to have to bring that down and then bring it back up. And then you have somewhat a ramp in the very beginning, but the smaller ramps doesn't work out well for the smaller ones, as you see here. 1.5 increments seems to work pretty well. We could probably do like 1.2, but probably... yeah, I think we could do like 1.2, but I might not even bother doing that because, as you can see here, actually, no. Even this is doing a rotisserie for some reason. So 1.5 is not doing it specifically, but for the most part, it is working. For the most part. What about these little ones? These little ones are probably just going to fall into this gap and stay here. Yeah. So, doing it this way, you probably need a steeper angle. So, a steeper angle would probably be close to 1.5 difference for each piston. You technically, honestly, don't even need this system, because you can just make these ramps and it goes straight down into collectors. So that's the same pretty much concept instead of having a rotisserie thing going on here. But again, this was a rather pointless experiment, but I really wanted to try to see if the pistons way will kind of do it for you. And technically, yes, of bigger increments will help move it along. But to be honest, you just build a ramp and it'll just slowly roll into the collectors here. Or, of course, a more natural way to do it, connect these cargoes with the conveyor tubes, conveyor junctions into the other cargo, and that's it for what it is, you know? But again, this is a visual concept. I just want to see what works best in terms of angles, especially with these wheels and rotors. And it looks like 1.5 might be the best bet. So it's going to angle a little higher than what I would prefer at this angle. But of course, if we go back to default, meaning having it all flat and having it kind of rotate into it, it looks cool. But again, you're just going to have rotisserie stone, basically, in some points, in some ways. But it just makes for a nice little visual concept where you'll see your collection of your ores rather than not seeing it move whatsoever. So comment below if you have a better way to create some kind of weird concept with stone collection or any other material collections, really, where you can visually see the materials moving from one end to the other end. Now, time to cue the time lapse. Alright, so thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up, like the video if you enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and also leave us some comments. And as always, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.